Well, I have a feeling after like 40 years of creation, artistic creation, and this art and design, I have the feeling that we have discovered a new world. You know, like the Spanish explorer in the 14th century discovered, you know, South America and the whole planet by navigation. But we are a bit, for me, in the same position. We don't have boats, but we have the technology now to immerse ourselves in a new kind of space. But that space, we have no idea what it is. Right now, the gaming industry is trying to invite us in immersive space and interactive space where we'll kill each other. For me, this is not what this space is about. This space has to be invented. It has to be imagined, and so our task as artist and designer and architect of today is to inhabit this world and build it, but build it with the ethics and the aesthetics that are important to us. Like digital humanism is the theme this year. I think this new world that we're investing now, digital world, immersive, interactive, has to be designed with humanism in mind. Not It's not about business, it's not about marketing, it's not about war. It has to be about how can we express our humanity. But of course, this world is created by computers. So the big challenge for us humans is how we will engage with computers and keep our humanity and keep uh, computers where they should be, you know, not let them invade completely our imagination, but define their position to help us imagine the world that we need. And of course, this world is not designed for humans, it's designed for life. It's not just us, it's the all the living realm, you know, the plants, the animals, and we have to change our mindset. So this new world is an opportunity to become more generous and more open and more understanding of the process that are happening around us. Yeah. Because the technology is very powerful. It does not come from nowhere. It's invented by humans. We invent technology, but we invent technology for sometimes the wrong reasons. Usually, you invent technology for war. You know, war and military, and this is the incentive for having technology. But the artists are there to to use this technology, which is neutral. I mean, it can be even if it's designed for war, it can be used for good things. So artists will repurpose technology, transform it, change the reason why it was created into something else. And this is why the artists have to be very critical about technology. But I see in my own lifetime, you know, technology was really fascinating at the beginning. You know, the interactive laser disc. Oh wow, the computer laser disc can hold thousands of images and video, and you can shuffle them. So it was breaking the linearity of cinema, which was fascinating. So we were not so critical about it. We were just like eager to try and find out what we can do with it. And I could use it to do portraits, interactive portraits. But fortunately, that took me through several cycles of creation. But I became more critical about technology as I mastered the technology and as I saw its effect. And now I think after like 40 years, I look at new technology and I have more question about it than I had before, because perhaps I'm starting to see how this cohabitation between human and technology can be difficult or dangerous or even counter human, if you want. Yeah. Well, the portrait one is a very important work for me because you never know when you have an idea, you make it, bring it to life, and it's not exactly what you imagine, but it's something else. But when you show it to people, then you can really see what you have done. And in the case of portrait one, it created a lot of interest. That was a big incentive for me to. It facilitated, you know, my career a lot. But portrait one, I see the measure of its success. It's when it's copied. You know, like it was, I guess, one of the first, if not the first, visual, chatbot. You had other programs that were where human converse with the computer, but they were text. They were not visual. So that was an example, but it triggered interest, and then you could see it happen. And I'm really happy to see that how people are inspired by art, and they copy it and they repurpose it and they do other things with it. So now the work has inspired many things that I think is a measure of the good idea that this was, very naively, very intuitively. But this is, you always hope that you will reproduce that. So I saw my first panorama when I was 14 years old at Expo 67, and it was a universal exhibition, and it was a trip through Canada. But you could feel that although it was just a cylindrical panorama, you could lose your balance. So you had in the room, you could hold on handrails not to fall. And when I was 14, when I saw that, I said, "Oh, this is in my lifetime. You will see many, many immersive, panorama and everything." But it didn't happen because I did not know then. They were so complicated and expensive to produce. So in my lifetime, I was always looking for a way to create these immersive panorama, and it happened only 20 years later, 30 years later, because you needed the processing power of the computer, you needed the way to record the media on a very flexible and fast format, you needed the ideas to produce, you needed the real time that computer could afford, you needed also the society to evolve, to want interaction and immersion. So all this happened at the end of the 90s, and now you have VR, you have domes, you have all kinds of things. So when you do these research experimentation, you don't know if it will give a result or not. But if you have the feeling that the intuition that maybe there's something there, you have the responsibility to try it, because maybe then you will spark something in somebody's mind, and they will become, they will take the idea and bring it much further. It will be, yeah, it will be 30 years next year. So I'm dreaming to remake it with the same actress, who is now 64. She was 34 at the time. She's 64, Marie, and see how she has evolved as a character. It's not about her; it's about the character. But now with AI, it's really incredible how you could work on defining a generative personality. Maybe she can now remember that she saw you before. She can make sense differently of what you tell her. So the possibilities are so open, but of course we don't have millions of dollars to do these projects. So it has to be minimal, but it has to be critical at the same time of AI and all the technology. It was a big accident for me. It was something I wish I had not experienced, but this is life, Sometimes you are in one place, something happens, and you're a witness. So the little story about this is we were a group of artists in New York for an event organized by the Quebec government to showcase art from Quebec in New York City. And we were maybe 30 artists preparing our installations for an opening on September 13. We were at the kitchen. We were in Dumbo. We were at first we were supposed to have installation even in the World Trade Center at the ground floor, but security was so difficult that we decided that it was too complicated. But we did find an apartment to stay, because we spent 1 month in New York in Battery Park City. So we were just in that day, the morning of September 11, we were just about to go and install our first panoscope, for the dome at the kitchen. And suddenly we hear a noise. We were like pouring coffee on the 20th floor of that building. We hear a noise and we say, "Oh, what's this noise?" About 8:45. And we said, "Oh, it looks like a big garbage truck has been hitting our building or something." So we said, "Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be that difficult. So we kept on drinking coffee, and then somebody looked at the window, and she saw hundreds of people on the street looking in the direction that we couldn't see. So we said, okay, let's go down and check it out. Maybe it's connected to the sound we heard. So, and I had prepared my camera this day because we were shooting the installation of the first time we install a thing. So I take my camera and I had a cassette and put it there, and we go around the corner and we see the first tower in flames. So, wow, that was spectacular. So I started to record, and I was using the zoom to go, because we were not that far, but maybe like 3 blocks south. So I was zooming in to try to understand what was happening, you know. And you could see when you zoom in that the some of the structure was a bit distorted, and then my friend I said, oh look, there are people jumping. And so I was basically we were like trying to make sense of that, but for us it was maybe an explosion. But we see the policemen and the firemen arriving and say, okay, they will go up and they will kill the fire, and we were just about, you know, about to leave. I have zoomed out, the camera was holding it like that, talking with my friend, and suddenly we hear a sound like this, and there was a plane, and it took a while to realize, you know, what's that? and you know, like, and then we realized it, you know, that another plane had it, and then suddenly from an accident it became a terrorist act, and that was a completely different story. So I look at the camera, I zoom out, I see that I recorded the plane. So I take a set, put it in my pocket, and say, okay, if I see media, I will give it to them. But we were on the street; there were no media around. We were strapped in a section of New York, and eventually we were taken by boat across to New Jersey. But that was my story, and that story, in fact, is very unfortunate, because I was not. We had to cancel the exhibitions. It was a big stop in my momentum. This thing, because suddenly, but not just for me, for the whole world actually. The whole world stopped that day, and we're still, you know, 10, 15, almost 20 years after, trying to understand what happened, and we don't know. We know the world changed a lot, and I was there on the street that day with my camera to record it. Yeah. When I came back to Montreal a few days later, there was a music performance in our art center in Montreal, where a friend was playing a piece of music by Charles Ives, The Unanswered Question. And for me, when I listened to that music, it was the complete opposite of what my experience was on the street. So I simply had the idea to put some of the video I had with that music together, just to see what happens. And it's an installation that I showed once in our center called Untitled, and I have never shown it after that. Yeah. There has to be, because art is about citizenship, is about, you know, generosity, is about understanding the world, and the world that we live in needs to be, you know, to be collectively designed and inhabited and evolve. So we have a responsibility, not only as artists, as human, as citizens. So, and politics is part of that. So every decision we make, what we wear in the morning, what we buy, you know, if you buy something, basically you support a company, a product, or so this decision of what to buy or what not to buy, you know, now we're talking a lot about the necessity to reduce our carbon footprint. But, you know, we're very pleased to have flown to Colombia and be here with you. But maybe there will come a point where we have to be very critical about that. Say, do I have to go? What is the environmental cost of me going there, and is my presence there is there another way to avoid this environmental cost but still participate? So we need to be global. We need to interact more and more together, but we need to be careful on the costs of the environmental costs of all these actions. So this is a very interesting design opportunity. How do we travel slowly? So maybe instead of coming to Colombia for 4 days, like now, I should come for a year, and come maybe by boat or by bicycle, and use the time I have here to go deeper in society, get involved in things. So that would be a way to stay connected, but differently, in a way that is more sustainable. So I really like, personally, the slow food, the movement of people who say, okay, it's not about progress, growth. It's about how to keep our values in line, and be more responsible in how we consume energy, but without sacrificing what we need to do is work together, get to know each other, break the frontiers, break the barriers, invite each other, but invite each other differently in a slower pace, and sort of get more out of it. Uh, well, the first thing is the people, the way that you are greeted, the you feel welcome. You feel that uh, what you bring here is something that people are interested in, and there are so many opportunities to share. Of course, when you are in the stage, you don't see the audience, but you feel something. But after that, in the cocktail or the exhibition or on the street, on the in the bus, you have these beautiful conversations, these moments, and all this, the symposium, the festival is everything together. Of course, for me, the new dimension of South America and of Colombia is, of course, when you hear about Colombia from Canada, it's the problems that you had with the FARC and all this. And the media, in fact, you realize the media is basically is a spectacle. It creates the news. It needs news, and you know about foreign country from the news, and the news are a very limited part. But when you come here, you say, "Oh, this is a real country with people, happy people. Food, fantastic fruits that you have never seen before, coffee," and suddenly you realize that the mu- the multidimensionality of this is the news, the media that we have to understand Colombia is not giving you the sense of what this society is. When you come here, you discover a incredible, rich society. That's what I like about it. You're welcome.